What's up, everybody? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm your host, Robert Durden, and this is the Jerk of the Week episode, Democratic edition. I'll try to get you the Republican edition later, but this week was super easy, picking the two Democrats that sucked the worst. Now, I'm going to give honorable mentions to Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, the usual Senate Democrats that I roll on every single week, and of course the squad for being anemic. You guys all suck, and nothing has really changed about what they're doing. All of them are either ineffectual or actively standing in the way of everything. So since nothing has changed there, I'm just going to give them honorable mentions. They all suck, but I'm not going to keep beating up on them. These two people are uniquely shitty this week, and one of them is obviously going to take home the shit crown, and you guys will know it once you hear the name. You probably have it in your head already. So the two heavyweights going at it this week for the Democrats are Elizabeth Warren and Andrew Yang. And I'll go over at the end why I think one of these is the obvious loser of the week. So let's start with Elizabeth Warren. I did a video about a week ago making fun of her because her new book is coming out, and it's one 304-page excuse about how, and this is according to the New York Times, she kind of alludes to the fact that Democratic voters were reluctant to vote for a woman again because they saw Hillary lose to Donald Trump, and that was the reason that nobody gravitated towards Elizabeth Warren. It's because the Democratic voters have sexism built into their psyche somehow. So if you haven't been watching Elizabeth Warren over the last year or so, all criticisms that come her way, she just goes, "You're sexist! You're sexist!" She has no good defenses because she abandoned all of her principles back in the day and is basically a centrist now. So she just uses that as, like, she lashes out and calls everybody that doesn't agree with her or critiques her a sexist. And burners are done with her. We all have a personal vendetta against her. She sucks big time. Now, the reason that she lost in the primaries has nothing to do with sexism. It has everything to do with the fact that she ran in a lane that doesn't exist. And I broke this down on a different episode. There, on the left, and on the right too, there's a big, like, it's fractured. There's the centrist and the elitists and the capitalists and the, moneyed interest politicians that are in the center, and that's like the Joe Bidens, Klobuchars, Pete Buttigieg, and then on the right side, that's like Mitt Romney, the standard Ted Cruz politicians. And then there's a big split, and then there's on the right, like the populist right, which is like the people who really like Trump, working people, poor people, populist people. And same thing with on the left, except for it's Sanders on the left. And what Elizabeth Warren tried to do, like a moron, is that she tried to run in between the Klobuchars and the Bidens of the world and Bernie, right in the center there, and hoped to siphon off people from burners that were maybe a little bit put off by how lefty Bernie was. And she also tried to siphon off centrists who maybe weren't quite so gung-ho on what Joe Biden wanted to do or Klobuchar wanted to do, maybe wanted higher taxes on the wealthy, but didn't want to go all the way to the Bernie camp. And the reason she lost is because those two groups of people don't exist. You can't siphon off people from the burners. They are in that camp. They're not going anywhere. And the people that are in the centrist, the neoliberals, the people that have money, like upper educated non-populists, they're going to vote for Biden or Klobuchar or Buttigieg if they have the chance, and they don't want anything to do with anybody left of that, and that includes Elizabeth Warren. So it has nothing to do with with her being a woman or the Democratic voters being sexist or anything like that. It has everything to do with you being a bad strategist and a poor politician. And then as I broke down in the other video, the reason that she really lost is that when she was in first, which was a very brief time, I forget when it was, but she was in first for a little bit. Okay, like in the middle of last summer. And she pivoted at that point more centrist. She gave up on a lot of the stuff that made her popular and made her seem like maybe she was like the female Bernie Sanders, which I always maintain. I think you have an advantage if you're a female going up against Trump in the general election because he's such a misogynist. I don't think it's a disadvantage. If anything, it's an advantage. So she was doing extremely well when she had the rhetoric that was similar to Bernie's. But then when she pivoted and moved away from Medicare for All and flopped some debate questions on how she was going to pay for things, yeah, you plummeted. And then she plummeted even further when she was flailing and she decided to stick the dagger in between Bernie's ribs and call him a sexist. allege that he said behind closed doors that a woman couldn't be president or couldn't beat Donald Trump, which she later admitted tongue-in-cheek was all bogus, by the way. That's why you lost. And that's why everybody hates you, and that's why I don't think anybody should vote for her. She is running for re-election in 2024. She should be primaried. And when she loses, or if she loses, it'll be okay for her, because then she can write Persist Part 2 and talk about how she lost because of sexism in 2024. Get fucked, Elizabeth Warren. You lost because you ran a terrible campaign that pivoted the wrong way at the wrong time, and it's because you're a terrible politician. Period. So that's why she's nominated this week. Persist Part 2. That would be pretty good, right? I just made that up. Yeah, Persist Part 2 after you lose in 2024. You get primaried by somebody from the left and you lose. That would be num 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 in my tummy. I would buy that book and read it out loud to you guys on this show so we could all have a great laugh. Okay, second shithead of the week is Andrew Yang. And you guys know he put out that really insensitive, I would say literally a sociopathic tweet that was backing up Israel with what's going on in Israel-Palestine right now. Now, to give you guys a little bit of background without getting too much into the weeds, basically Israel they attacked a bunch of praying people, Palestinians, inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is that big, beautiful golden dome that you guys have seen in like movies, or if you've ever played like Assassin's Creed or whatever. It's that beautiful dome in Jerusalem, one of the holiest places in Islam. And beyond that, they also are trying to evict 8 Palestinian families arbitrarily because they're just expanding their borders and trying to occupy where that family happens to live. There are protests outside the mosque, and so they started shooting people in the mosque with rubber bullets and throwing in flashbangs and tear gas. And then once Hamas, after this happened, fired rockets into Israel territory, then Israel used that as an excuse to bomb Palestine, killing 20 people, including 9 children. So what's happening in Israel-Palestine is not a war. It is ethnic cleansing. It's war crimes. It is the Israelis committing basically genocide against the Palestinians. And Andrew Yang is defending the Israelis and obfuscating as if, Hamas, he's like, I'd condemn terrorism by Hamas, without explaining the context of what caused Hamas to even fire those rockets in the first place. And why is he doing that? Because he's in the pocket of the Israelis. He's running for New York City mayor right now, and the Israelis can donate a ton of money to him, and they do have a bunch of influence in New York City. So he's doing this because he's being a mouthpiece. I've always said he's a capitalist piece of shit, which is why I never rank him high in my power rankings. This confirms that. He's also, this is one of those things you have to be on the right side of. You can't be wishy-washy or on the wrong side or in the middle of or indifferent on human rights violations. So I'm moving Andrew Yang from a bench warmer on the good squad or the good guys team, and I'm putting him on the bad guys team. I would never vote for him, not if he's the last Democrat running. If he runs for president again, he will never have my support again. I'll give him credit if he says good things on other stuff, but you cannot say this and still get my support on anything. Andrew Yang is a piece of shit for this comment. So I'd just like to read to you the apology that he actually issued later, because he got so much blowback on Twitter, as he should, that he actually came out and gave a non-apology, and I'm going to read it to you. He actually was talking about how a lot of his staffers were like, dude, that tweet was, you're going to have to issue some sort of apology. So he's talking about them here. He says, quote, these people that talked to me felt that my tweet failed to acknowledge the pain and suffering on both sides. They were, of course, correct. I mourn for every Palestinian life taken before its time, as I do every Israeli. Again, equating the two. Suffering and pain and violence and death suffered by anyone hurts everybody. All people want to be able to live in peace. We all want that for ourselves and our children. Support of people does not make one blind to the pain and suffering of others. Again, most everyone simply wants to be able to live and pray in peace. And that is what we want as well. I join with the millions around the world in praying that the current situation be resolved as quickly as possible, peacefully, and with minimal suffering. For those who have spoken to me on this, thank you. Continue to believe in humanity. End quote. Did at any point during that he condemn any of the actual war crimes, the violations of international law, the ethnic cleansing that's going on that the Israelis are doing? No, he's equating the two. Again, and if I may make a comparison here, do you guys remember Charlottesville back in the day where all those Nazis clashed with those protesters? They always said that. It was Trump got in so much trouble afterwards for saying that, oh, there was violence on both sides. There was a clash of Antifa and the Nazis. And then he said there's some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides. Now, he got a lot of blowback for that, and rightfully so. Why is that? Because the Nazis were clearly the aggressor. They were the ones chanting, Jews will not replace us. And it was, in fact, the neo-Nazi that crashed that car into that crowd of people that killed Heather Heyer, I think her name was. That horrible video. So there is an aggressor in this situation. And by saying that they're clashing in some way or that they're fighting that's not what is going on. This is closer to genocide in the Israel-Palestine instance than it is a fight. So Andrew Yang and Joe Biden, when they say stuff like this, all they're doing is saying, well, there's fine people on both sides, but they're saying it in more flowery words. How is it any different than that? How is it? No, there isn't any difference. Until you can call out who the villain is, you're doing exactly what Trump did in Charlottesville, Andrew Yang, and that's why you got crushed, and that's why this apology sucks. You didn't mention a goddamn thing about what the Israelis are doing to provoke Hamas, and you didn't put forth a solution that involves BDS or coming to the table or defunding Israel. No, you just said some bullshit about how we all want to pray in peace. We all think we should pray in peace. I think it would be good if we can all pray in peace. Yeah, but the Israelis are the ones shooting people that are praying, Andrew. You didn't mention that. You just said we all, cliche, bullshit. This is why I can't suffer Andrew Yang anymore. Sorry, putting him from the bench warmer on the good guy squad to starter on the bad guy squad. It's obvious to me now that the Israeli lobby has had their hooks in him forever. He's running for NYC mayor. They're probably funding the living shit out of him. But he's willing to abandon, if he had any principles on this at some point, he's willing to abandon them for money. You'll never get my vote for a presidential nod, Andrew. You have to be on the right side when it comes to human rights. You can't be in the middle. You can't be indifferent. You can't say, oh, let's all just get along. You have to be on the right side of human rights violations, period. So this apology is bullshit. Obviously, Andrew Yang is pro-genocide. He's pro-ethnic cleansing. Or at least he can be paid to talk about it in a flattering light and to run defense for human rights abusers. What's next, Andrew? You're going to talk about how Yemen and Saudi Arabia are fighting? When that's absolutely a genocide as well by the Saudis, who we also fund, by the way. You can count on that from Andrew Yang. He's going to be on the side of our allies no matter what kind of human rights abuses they're doing. So he's now on the bad guy squad, guys, and obviously he's the shithead of the week. Way more than Elizabeth Warren. Way more. Shame on you, Andrew. This is one of those things you're never going to come back from, and I hope that he does not win the mayoral race, and if he runs for president again, I hope that this just gets used to bludgeon him to death on the debate stage. This is one of those things you can't be wrong on, and it should keep him from ever holding office, in my opinion. So it's easily Andrew Yang as the shithead of the week, but Elizabeth Warren, you're fucking embarrassing. Stop calling everybody that doesn't like you sexist. Take some responsibility. If you would stop acting like a snake, people would stop calling you a snake. So these two turds won't flush. But Andrew Yang is obviously the biggest shithead of the week. So congratulations on taking home the shit crown, Andrew. So I'll do at least one more episode for you guys tonight. I'll try to get another shithead of the week episode for the Republicans out. I don't know if that will be until tomorrow, though. So keep fighting the good fight. We'll talk to you guys later.